There were two cancers, right? And it was prostate cancer, 5 days later, kidney cancer. Now, the kidney cancer has been in remission ever since the fall of 2014 after initial treatment, which has been great. That was a clear cell carcinoma. It was contained, so if you can have a good cancer and a diagnosis, that was it. The prostate cancer was the counter to that. Diagnosis is a very high grade, very high risk, very fast, aggressive form. It's a Gleason's 9 for those that understand what that is. So the treatment approaches to that were initially a surgical approach to remove the prostate, the cancerous prostate gland, but the cancer got out. Now we didn't know how far that got out, and it's not abnormal then to require some radiation therapy afterwards. But I had been through so much to get to that surgery, from the sepsis to the kidney to the lymphocyte to then that surgery, 4 surgeries or 4 medical treatments later inside of a few months, that we needed time for me to recover. So then we took that time, but then a little bit later the cancer showed that it was still present. So then we had to start radiation therapy, which was 38 rounds of everyday radiation to the middle of my body, from the abdomen to my thigh, pelvic region. Today where I sit is the only therapy, active therapy that's going on is I'm on the anti-hormone therapy, the Lupron, and that's going to go for another 1.5 years. My side effects that are still present are the side effects that come with that Lupron, which, as I was just doing mopping off there, I get a lot of hot flashes. So part of the reason I still, even though my hair is proving to grow back, I'm keeping it short because I can at least mop my head off that way when I'm sweating. I still have some swelling, minor. I feel some. My legs and down are a little bit more, if I sit, even if I haven't moved for a while, then things will sort of get stiffer on me. Sometimes I just wonder if I'm getting older and if it's arthritis or something else, but it's really just the aggregation of the fluid. I say to people when they ask me how I'm doing, and you sort of run down this litany of things and things I'm still facing, right? Like I was asked to go to the Vikings game this last weekend. Now, yeah, I don't know if I wanted to spend 10 hours the way they're playing these days, but I did watch the game nonetheless. But when I was invited, I said, I'd love to go. I said, but right now, the side effects that I'm still experiencing are unpredictable enough that I'm not necessarily comfortable to having 3 other guys have to deal with me during the day, during the course of that. And I like exit strategies. I want to make sure that if I'm not feeling well, I've got a way to extract myself from a situation. I've got to make sure I know where restrooms are at all times. I just don't know. So I'm not ready for that yet, right? And yet, at the same token, if you were to see me on the street and see me work every day, you have no idea that I'm dealing with any of it, because I have 2 legs, I have 2 arms, I can speak, I can talk, I can hear, I can see, I can smell, I can eat, I can engage with folks in conversation, and I work out every morning. If there's a list of 100 things, I lost about 10 things on that list, right? But boy, do I have it good compared to what some people are going through. I mean, my goodness. I still have the radiation therapy, the straight shot. One of the side effects was is that about 6 weeks ago now, my rib cracked. Just cracked, because that beam of radiation just destroys it, and it got porous and brittle and weak, and something happened, and I put a minor crack in it, and then eventually I just cracked it doing something normal. And so now I've been trying to nurse that back, my right side, and so between that and my hot flashes, I don't get big extended periods of sleep. I get like 1-hour naps throughout the night, and then I got to get up, I got to towel off, I got to move around, my back hurts, but I'm getting there. I hope to get back in the pool by the 1st of the year. That'll be 8 weeks, and exercise is important to me. Part of that is it's just part of who I am. I like to be fit, the energy that it means to me. But the other thing about it is it's part of the battle, right? It's part of the survivor that says, hey, if I can exercise, who's winning, right? When I was in chemo, I couldn't exercise. I couldn't go to the gym. I had to be really careful about my exposure to people. And frankly, you just don't have the energy and the strength. I mean, it just really takes it out of you, and you've got to put everything you can into trying to battle the treatments. I'm now involved with the American Cancer Society and the state leadership board, and locally we have a regional board as well, and we're working on cancer types of things. So it gets me into the conversation about what's next and what's coming, and we're close. I would, people have their dreams, like let's rid the world of hunger and things like that, right? For me, as a cancer survivor, I don't want anyone to have experienced cancer, any form of it whatsoever. It's touched all of us, and it's just an awful disease. And the treatments are perhaps as difficult as anything. And I think there will be a time, 5 years from now, maybe 10. I don't know how long it'll take to get to the new therapies and the new treatments, but I think we're going to look back at some point and say, to chemotherapy and radiation, so we did what to the human body? It's going to be like when they used to stick leeches on an arm to get an infection out or hit you over the head with a hammer to knock you out. I mean, we're going to get to a point in our society, that's the way we're going to look at chemotherapy and radiation. We're just going to say, I can't believe we did that to the human being. And they survived. I mean, think of the resiliency of the body. So I don't think Ginger and I dwell on it much. I don't think we can escape it. We're pretty optimistic that it's going to continue to show that it's on the downhill slide and we're headed towards remission. But this cancer has been so unpredictable. I mean, every time we think we've got it, it rears back and it's time for another round of treatment. It just has been reluctant and resistant to anything. And that's what my team in Rochester specializes in, is recurrent, non-responsive prostate cancer that just won't give up. And if there's a chart, the 1 in 1,000s, that's what my diagnosis falls in, is that type of a diagnosis. Yeah, because it could go the other way, right? Right. And it could go down, right? And what do you do when your doctor says to you, when they use phrases like extending life, right? Or when they say go live life, right? Your mind can go in they call it the ladder of inference, right? We all deal with it. When something happens like, oh, I got a flat tire and now I'm going to end up in the ditch, it's so cold out. And we all race to the worst case scenarios. And my doctors aren't warning me about anything, but our minds have such control. And so the best advice is when the doctor says, you know what, you're okay right now. You're not in any imminent danger. And we've got our eyes on this, and you're not going anywhere. We're going to stay close to you. If these numbers go in any particular direction, we know exactly what to do. We got plenty in the holster. You know exactly how to get to us and what happens. And I was in the hospital 2 or 3 different times during chemo because my body just didn't react right. And so then at the end he says, go live life, right? Just go live. You've been in treatment almost regularly for 3 years. Just go live life. Now, truth be told, I've had a lot of treatment, but I think I've lived life at the same time. So I think that's part of it, is I think some things have changed for us, Brian, for my wife and I, in terms of how we live our life with that bit of uncertainty, but we've all got that uncertainty, right? We all have that. We all have that risk. There's just a different stamp on me, I guess, that says, well, we faced it. We've already looked at that edge. It was very close, especially when I was initially diagnosed and raced to the hospital with sepsis, and I had 105.5, so that was pretty close, and that was my moment when I did disappear from consciousness and had my interaction with God as well. So I think there's a part of it that just allows you to frame life different and just think about, you know what, every chance I have, every moment I have, I'm going to live that. I don't think Ginger and I live with, well, we'll get to that later. Or when this happens, we'll do it. Only through a planning purpose, but never will we defer things. We try to make sure we stay in that moment and enjoy life and live in it. And you know what? It's going to be what it's going to be. I got the best medical care I could get. And what's even more comforting for me is, as we've talked about in my articles, is my faith is deep. And the more I've battled this, the stronger my faith has become. I know that for me, the Lord took control of this disease and everything that was going to happen with me during that initial week when I was diagnosed and in the hospital. Made it clear to me through a variety of events in answering prayers that He had control. And so what I know is that this is all going to play out the way that it's supposed to. And I'm still here, and I'm still making a difference, and I'm still living fully, and I have the best team taking care of me, and I don't think we're thinking about cancer as the thing that's going to end it, right? It might. It's a disease I've just got to deal with, but we don't know what it's going to do, so why dwell on it? The best minds are working on it, and I've responded to the treatments, and there's more out there. I don't know that I've gotten to the point yet, Brian, where people will say there will be days when you'll wake up and you'll not think about being a cancer survivor or that you have cancer. I can't say there's ever been a day that I've experienced that experience of not having it. I can tell you there are moments. There was a moment one day where Ginger and I were out of town, and we were engaged in activity for about an hour and a half with some other people, and it was in the middle of my chemotherapy, so I had no hair, right? And for whatever reason, I put my hand to my head, and then I realized I didn't have hair. And then it came back to me that, oh, wait a minute, you have cancer, you're in the middle of chemotherapy, that's why you don't have any hair. But for an hour and a half, it was nowhere, right? I thought I had hair up there. Right? I just went to nothing there. And so there are times when I've been able to transport myself away from that and just forget it. But I've never had a day. So instead, I use that to motivate me, right? What can I do? Right? I've got time here that I can still make a difference. I'm fully committed to what we do here at Greater Mankato Growth, but I've also been able to focus time and energy on cancer and on organizations like the American Cancer Society. And Ginger and I are continuing to talk about more things that we can do to be helpful in the world of cancer and how we can continue to bring it to the forefront. Part of my goal from the outset, and you guys have done a great job of this, Brian, has been how do I recast what the face of cancer looks like? A, prostate cancer, right? Because I don't look like most people's dads and grandfathers. So how do I change that face to get young guys, right, in their 40s and their 50s at the appropriate time, make sure they're talking to their doctor and that they're not ignoring things like prostate cancer or testicular cancer, the men's cancers. But then how can I live in a way that just demonstrates that in the face of adversities, whatever they are, whatever the health challenge is, whatever the adversity is, how can I, at least while I'm facing cancer, if that's the worst adversity that I have to face, how can I rise up in a way, individually and with Ginger as a family, how can we just live life in a different way? How can we show up in a different way? How can we tackle things and make a contribution and make a difference as if cancer's not caused us to miss a step?